Well, I'm just going to keep on recording videos. So I heard yesterday when I did a brief live stream, somebody recommended me a Nazbol point of view. I didn't catch the first one, but I think I caught the point of view of the Mexican American War. So I'm going to give some takes here. And of course, that is General Antonio Lopez, and there are others, some names, de Santa Anna, of course. But let's get into it, shall we? Let's just jump right in. So it kind of feeds into a larger, gives into some larger ideas. Yeah. So let's go ahead and just jump. I'm sorry for the dead air. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So you had the Texas Revolution, and you had, of course, everyone remembers the Alamo. You can talk about the Battle of Behar or the Battle of San Jacinto, this and that. Now, like I said, Texas was a state that was just barely hanging on, really. Um, a lot of folks had come from, like Arkansas, this and that, to, occupy this land. Now, of course, what originally occurred with this is with Tejas, the land. This is, like I say, a lot of people are going to, I'm surprised people have not made this comparison. And maybe I'm a trailblazer in this way, but I'm tooting my own horn here. But people could compare narratives of South Africa and Texas. What do I mean? Well, a lot of people who talk about the Boers and the Afrikaners, they they like to say, for the most part, apart from the Khoisan and the Zulu, well, probably, I'll just say Khoisan. Let's just say Khoisan for now. The land was uninhabited. Now, similar things can be said about Texas. In general, Texas was uninhabited, at least as far as we know. I'm sure people are going to say, no, it wasn't like that. Oh, what about these tribes? This and that. Yeah, they were tribes, sure. But in general, it wasn't as popular. So the thing is that the Mexican government offered land and money to, these settlers to move in, right? And there were only two recommendations. There were only two real rules: is be Catholic, or at least go to Catholic church, and no slavery. Because obviously, Mexico had just had kicked out Spain and everything else. So they said, smeg off with all that, sort of slavery stuff. And of course, ultimately, they broke both sides. They broke both of those. They weren't going to Catholic church, not even from the very beginning, even to give lip service. And there were some folks later on who were bringing slaves. And so that led to the revolution. Of course, this led to, and I'm just, I'm giving the Cliff Notes version here, but basically, you had the conclusion of the Texas Revolution with the Battle of San Jacinto on April 21st, 1836. I had to double check here. But basically, yeah, General Sam Houston engaged and defeated General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna's Mexican army. President of Mexico, like I say, allegedly they found him in a dress, this and that. I'm giving a very, uh, I'm giving a very overviewed. This is the Cliff Notes version. If you want to read about it more, you can. But like I say, so the Texas Revolution comes up. You have, of course, the Battle of the Alamo and all this sort of thing. Remember the Alamo, that sort of thing. And of course, you can go ahead and say, "Oh, must settlers and whatnot." But the thing is, they didn't just come out of nowhere. And I think it's a very different structure to say from the rest of the United States to say, "Oh, well, you know they." The Indians poisoned the blankets and whatnot, but the situation with Texas is that they were allowed in. So, and of course, like I say, it feeds into the larger narrative of like, basically like Aslan sort of stuff, the LARPing, where it's like, this is all our land and whatnot. To a point, I would say, even with Texas, is that a lot of it is being overtaken by, Mexicans and other people of Chicano descent already. So ultimately, they get the last. I would say that Mexico gets the last laugh ultimately. Um, that's my take on it. Anyway. That's my spicy take on that situation. Um, but yeah, I mean, basically, you had the state of, you had the establishment of Texas as a country. Texian army, yeah, for years, Mexican authorities used the reconquering of Texas as an excuse for implementing new taxes and making the army the budgetary priority of the impoverished nation. Republic of Texas, of course, yeah, during the absence, Santa Anna had been deposed. On his arrival, the Mexican press wasted no time in attacking him for his cruelty towards those executed at Goliad, basically Alamo. Requesting an inquiry into the event, the judge determined the inquiry, sorry, was only for fact finding and took no action. Press attacks in Mexico and the United States continued. Santa Anna was disgraced. Yeah, when he became a hero of the Pastry War, first French intervention into Mexico. Oh, wow. I'd never heard of that. Republic of Texas, including, the territory, basically. Yeah, so it was a state. And then, of course, you had the Mexican American War, which I think just showed, basically, I think a lot of that was a deal, basically. This occurred 1846 to 1848. I'm double checking my info. So that's why you hear the clicking in the background. But I'm just double checking on my details here. So yeah, the Republic of Texas de facto an independent country, but most of its citizens wish to be annexed by the United States. Like I say, and more of a proper national Bolshevist sort of idea is at the time the United States was, the better power, this and that sort of thing. That's not to say we're not going to sit here and defend imperialism, this and that, because I think that's kind of cringe. But beyond the disputed area of Texas, U.S. forces quickly occupied the regional capital. Most of its Tennessee, yeah, Texas would have been a slave state, upsetting the balance of power between the northern free states and southern slave states. Yeah, James K. Polk, Democrat, was elected. Yeah, like I say, so the issue of slavery had been a massive one, and like I say, I didn't remember all the details of it, so I had to make sure. But yeah, they have generals like Manuel Pena. Hmm. Yeah, basically, what occurred is, yeah, Mexico after independence, yeah, the Mexican military and the Catholic Church in Mexico, both privileged institutions with conservative political views, were stronger politically than the Mexican state. U.S. expansionism, instability in northern Mexico. Yeah, the Comanche and Apache Navajo Indians. Like I say, I think a lot of folks will use this whole thing as justification in a certain way. That's not to say they like Mexico, the state, you know, but they use it as a way to say, oh, this was imperialism, it was bad, this and that. But like I say, people use narratives as they please. If they think that it can get them more sympathy, then they'll do it. I'm trying to look at this from a more pragmatic point of view. Like I say, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, Texas was, like I say, oh, it's always the land of this and that. I'm going to say is that I've lived in Texas. But you can go ahead and believe what you want to. Mexican conservatives seized political initiative. Santa Anna became the centralist president of Mexico. Let's see here. Yeah. The Nueces Strip. Oh, yes. So, yeah, the Rio Grande versus the Nueces River. What's the real border of Texas? This is really where a lot of it started. Ill-fated Texan Santa Fe expedition attempted to realize the claim of New Mexican territory. Yeah, basically they were getting too big for their britches. Texas government was a little too big for its britches. They were in over their head. Yeah. Zachary Taylor came to Texas July 1845. Folks sent John Slidell, a secret representative, to Mexico City with an offer to the Mexican government, $25 million for the Rio Grande border in Texas. Polk authorized Slidell to forgive the $3 million owed to U.S. citizens for damage caused by the Mexican War of Independence. Oh, wow. Okay, so what's my ultimate Nazbol take? Well, my Nazbol take is this: is you look at the leaders of Mexico at this point, a lot of them are mestizo or just full on, like, basically, they're basically Spaniards who are running this thing. Feel as you want to about it, but I'm trying to speak about this in the most blunt way I can. Most of them were Spaniards who consider themselves Mexican, I would argue. Um, Once again, feel as you will. This is still the case in Mexico today. Plenty of leaders in Mexico are, and of course, you watch the TV, of course, you look at those folks and you say, that looks like white folks. A lot of folks are just kind of put back. They're not the darker sort of Indios. And I know that that's used as an insult in South America in general and also Central America. I'm just trying to be careful. But I think it's important to realize these things and try to look at it from an objective point of view. That's all I'm trying to do right now. I'm just trying to do an objective point of view on this. So yeah, yeah, but yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it got moved to shorts. It's one about Palestinian. Oh, okay. Sorry, Cass. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that. Sorry. I'm just recording these one by one, but yeah, that's my take on the Nazbol point of view of this. I'm not going to sit here and defend all these things. Basically, it occurred over a border dispute, and it was an excuse to take over Texas, even though it would come as a slave state, this and that. And of course, it took a full 10 years for Texas to get rid of slavery after the Civil War. So it wasn't until ultimately 1875 before, and that just shows kind of the vastness of the state of Texas. But yeah, overall, I would say is that I guess in a way it could be seen as a form of expansionism, but you could also say that it was something that kind of made things better for the area. I could say. I don't know if that's necessarily a Nazbol take, but that's the take that I took. Anywho, hopefully y'all enjoy that. See you later. A goodbye.